Silence. Not the peaceful kind. Not the kind you choose. This was the kind of silence that warns you. The kind that presses against your chest. And whispers. Something is wrong. A red laser dot slid slowly across the concrete pillar. Barely visible. But deadly precise. Arthur Miller saw it before anyone else. Because he had seen it before. Different country. Different war. Same signal. Someone was about to die. Then. A soft PHHT. Not loud. Not dramatic. But final. Arthur didn't think. He moved. 1 step. 2. His hand shot out. Grabbing the woman beside him. Pulling her hard into the shadows. His palm slammed over her mouth. Firm. Unforgiving. She struggled. Instinct. Shock. Fear. But his grip tightened. His breath brushed her ear. Low. Controlled. Commanding. Don't talk. A bullet tore through the air. Shattering glass inches from her face. If she had screamed. If she had even breathed wrong. She would be dead. Movie camera scene 1. The man no one saw. Arthur Miller wasn't supposed to be here. Not in this moment. Not in this story. At 5:45 every morning. He woke up in a cramped apartment above a bodega on 8th Street. The ceiling cracked. The heater unreliable. The walls thin enough to hear strangers argue about rent they couldn't pay. But none of that mattered. Because in the next room. There was something worth everything. Daddy. A soft voice. Sleepy. Fragile. Arthur turned instantly. Always instantly. Lily stood in the doorway. Messy hair. Oversized shirt. Bare feet. 7 years old. His entire world. You're up early, he said gently. You forgot your kiss. Arthur froze for half a second. Then smiled. A rare thing. A real thing. He walked over, knelt down, and kissed her forehead. Never, he said quietly. I just thought you were still dreaming. I was, she said. But I woke up because I felt like you were leaving. Arthur swallowed. Because she wasn't wrong. She felt things. Too much sometimes. Just like her mother. Go back to sleep, he said softly. I'll be home before you know it. She studied his face. Like she didn't believe time worked that way. Then she nodded. Okay, but don't forget, we're drawing tonight. I won't forget. You promise? Arthur hesitated. Just a flicker. Then. I promise. She smiled. And that smile. It made everything else feel smaller. 20 floors above Arthur's reality. Evelyn Sterling stood in front of a mirror that cost more than his entire apartment. She didn't smile. She didn't hesitate. She didn't feel. At least. That's what everyone believed. Her assistant adjusted the sleeve of her red dress. Board meeting in 10 minutes. I know. Her voice was calm. Sharp. Effortless. Media wants a statement about the merger. They'll get one when I'm ready. The shareholders will do exactly what I tell them to do. Silence. Her assistant nodded. Because everyone did. Evelyn turned back to the mirror. For a moment. Just a moment. Her expression shifted. Barely. Almost invisible. But if you looked closely, you could see it. Not weakness. Not fear. Something else. Loneliness. Then it vanished. Replaced by steel. Because steel doesn't break. Steel survives. They lived in the same building. Walked the same floors. Breathed the same air. But they were strangers. Two completely different worlds. Arthur cleaned the floors she walked on. Evelyn walked past without seeing him. Not out of cruelty. Out of habit. Because people like him were invisible. Until the night. Everything changed. Movie camera scene 4, the garage. The rain hadn't stopped all night. It echoed through the parking garage. Drip. 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 Evelyn's heels clicked against the concrete. Sharp. Confident. Predictable. Her bodyguard walked ahead. Scanning. Always scanning. Then. He stopped. Not dramatically. Just, stopped. A fraction too still. Evelyn noticed. What is it? No answer. Then. PHT. He dropped. Like a puppet with its strings cut. Evelyn's brain refused to process it. Gunshot? No. Too quiet. Too clean. Then she saw the blood. And suddenly. Everything became real. She opened her mouth. To scream. To call for help. To do something. But before a sound could escape. A hand grabbed her. Hard. Violent. Precise. Pulled her into darkness. Covered her mouth. Her heart exploded in her chest. Her nails dug into his arm. She tried to fight. Tried to scream. But his grip didn't move. Didn't shake. Didn't hesitate. And then. His voice. Right against her ear. Low. Deadly. Certain. Don't talk. Arthur's eyes moved constantly. Calculating. Mapping. Predicting. He didn't need to see the shooter. He already knew where they were. The angles. The distance. The intent. Another bullet struck. Closer. Testing. Waiting for movement. Waiting for panic. Arthur didn't give it. Because panic gets you killed. He leaned closer to Evelyn. Felt her shaking. He tightened his grip just enough. Not to hurt. To control. To protect. Listen to me, he whispered. If you make a sound, we both die. Her breathing stuttered. Her body froze. She understood. Finally. She nodded. Just once. Arthur slowly removed his hand. And in that moment. A silent agreement was made. Trust. Not earned. Not chosen. Forced. But real. Across the floor. Something glinted. Arthur saw it instantly. A small object near the fallen bodyguard. He moved without thinking. Low. Fast. Controlled. Another shot rang out. Too slow. Missed. He grabbed the object. A USB drive. Simple. Ordinary. Deadly. He didn't know why yet. But he knew it mattered. Because people don't risk this much. For nothing. Arthur grabbed Evelyn's wrist. Move. She didn't argue. Didn't question. Didn't hesitate. They moved through shadows. Between pillars. Into darkness. Every step calculated. Every breath controlled. Behind them. Silence. But not safety. Because silence like this means the danger is still watching. Inside a hidden maintenance corridor. Arthur finally stopped. Locked the door. Listened. Nothing. For now. Evelyn leaned against the wall. Her breathing broke. Her hands shook. What is happening?" she whispered. Arthur didn't answer immediately. He pulled out his phone. Plugged in the USB. Waited. The screen flickered. Loaded. And then. Everything changed. Names. Accounts. Transactions. Hidden files. Corruption. Scale beyond imagination. Evelyn stepped closer. Her eyes scanning. Then. She froze. "No," she whispered. Arthur looked at her. "You recognize something?" She didn't answer. Because she couldn't. Because right there, at the center of it all, was a name she knew. A name she trusted. A name she never questioned. Damien Cross. Arthur looked at her carefully. "Who is he to you?" Evelyn's voice barely came out. "Everything." Arthur's expression darkened. Because now he understood. This wasn't just an attack. This was a betrayal. A calculated one. And if they were willing to kill her, then whatever was on that drive was worth far more than money. Far more than power. It was worth lives. And now, they had it. Which meant only one thing. They wouldn't stop. Not until both of them were dead. Miles away. In a glass office high above the city. Damien Cross stood perfectly still. The sunrise painted the skyline in gold. But his face? Cold. Unmoved. His phone buzzed once. He didn't rush to answer. He never rushed. Control was everything. He picked it up slowly. Listened. And for the first time in years, his jaw tightened. "The drive is gone?" he asked quietly. A pause. "They're alive?" Another pause. Then. Silence. He ended the call. Set the phone down. Carefully. Deliberately. Because anger was inefficient. But this was unacceptable. 20 years. 2 decades of precision. Manipulation. Planning. All threatened by a janitor. Damien walked to the window. His reflection stared back at him. Perfect. Untouchable. Until now. "Find him," he said softly. "And the girl." Arthur didn't need to guess what would happen next. He already knew. He sat across from Evelyn in a dim motel room. Cheap curtains. Flickering light. The kind of place nobody remembers. Which is exactly why he chose it. "They'll come for her," he said. Evelyn looked up. "Who?" "My daughter." The words hung heavy in the air. Evelyn's expression shifted. Not fear. Something deeper. Guilt. Because she understood instantly. This wasn't just about her anymore. Arthur stood. Already moving. Already planning. "We leave in 10 minutes. Where are we going?" "Somewhere they can't find us." Evelyn almost laughed. "People like Damien always find you." Arthur stopped. Turned. His eyes locked onto hers. "Not if I find them first." The school bell rang. Children poured out of the building. Laughter. Noise. Life. Lily stepped outside. Scanning the crowd. Waiting. And then. She saw him. Her face lit up instantly. "Dad." She ran toward him. Arthur caught her mid-stride. Lifted her slightly. Held her tighter than usual. She noticed. "You're squeezing too hard," she giggled. He loosened his grip. "Just a little." "Sorry, bug." She tilted her head. Studying him. "You look serious." Arthur forced a small smile. "Just tired." She didn't fully believe him. But she nodded anyway. Because she trusted him. Completely. And that trust? It terrified him. Arthur's eyes moved. Constantly. Scanning. Counting. Measuring. And then. He saw it. A van. Parked across the street. Wrong place. Wrong timing. Wrong details. The license plate didn't match the area. The antenna was too advanced. And inside. Movement. Subtle. But there. Arthur's grip tightened on Lily's hand. "New game," he said casually. Her eyes lit up. "I love games." "Okay," he said. "We're spies." Her smile widened. "Like in movies?" "Exactly like in movies." "What do we do?" Arthur leaned closer. "Don't look at them." She blinked. "That's the game?" "That's the game." She giggled. "This is easy." Arthur didn't smile. Because it wasn't. Not even close. That night. They didn't go home. Not their real home. Arthur had already abandoned it. Too predictable. Too exposed. Instead. They moved. One location. Then another. Then another. 3 places in 2 days. No patterns. No routines. No mistakes. Evelyn watched it all unfold. The precision. The discipline. The instinct. "You've done this before," she said. Arthur didn't look at her. "Yes." She waited. He didn't elaborate. So she asked. "Where?" Arthur paused. Just for a second. "Places where mistakes don't get second chances." That was all she needed to hear. Damien's network spread across the city like veins. Private investigators. Corrupt officers. Digital trackers. Eyes everywhere. And slowly. They started closing in. Arthur felt it. The pressure. The tightening circle. "You can't keep running," Evelyn said one night. They sat in silence. Lily asleep beside them. Arthur stared at the wall. "I know." "Then what's the plan?" Arthur finally looked at her. "We stop him." Evelyn's breath caught. "That's not a plan. That's suicide." Arthur's voice didn't change. "No. Running is suicide." Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Then. Evelyn spoke again. Quieter this time. "What's on that drive? It's bigger than you think." Arthur leaned forward. "Then tell me." She hesitated. Because saying it out loud made it real. "It's not just money," she said. "It's control. Governments. Corporations. People disappearing." Arthur didn't react. But inside. Everything sharpened. "And my father," she continued, her voice cracking slightly, "he's part of it." Arthur watched her carefully. "You're not sure?" Evelyn shook her head. "I don't know anymore." That night. Evelyn couldn't sleep. She sat by the window. Watching nothing. Thinking everything. Her entire life. Built on control. Structure. Power. Now. Gone. Stripped away in days. She heard footsteps behind her. Arthur. He didn't speak immediately. Just stood there. Then. You should sleep. She let out a quiet laugh. I don't think I remember how. Arthur leaned against the wall. Start small. She turned to him. What does that mean? Close your eyes, he said. Trust that someone else is watching. She stared at him. Longer than expected. Then. Can you do that? She asked. Arthur didn't answer. Because the truth? He hadn't slept properly in years. The next morning. Lily sat on the floor. Drawing. Coloring quietly. Like nothing was wrong. Like everything was normal. Evelyn watched her. Confused. How is she not scared? She whispered. Arthur glanced over. She trusts me. Evelyn swallowed. That's it? Arthur nodded. That's everything. Lily looked up suddenly. Come here. They both moved closer. She held up her drawing. 3 figures. Holding hands. A small house. A sun in the corner. That's us, she said proudly. Arthur froze. Evelyn didn't move. That's not, Arthur started. But Lily cut him off. It is, she insisted. You, me, and her. She pointed at Evelyn. Evelyn's throat tightened. Why me? She asked softly. Lily shrugged. Because you look lonely. Silence. Arthur didn't know what to say. Evelyn didn't know how to feel. But something shifted. Something quiet. Something real. Back in the city. Damien stood over a digital map. Points of interest. Movement patterns. Data streams. And then. A match. A small one. But enough. He smiled. Cold. Precise. Found you. That night. Arthur's phone buzzed. Encrypted. Urgent. He read the message once. Then again. His face didn't change. But Evelyn saw it. What is it? Arthur looked at her. They know where we are. Evelyn's heart dropped. How long? Arthur checked the time. Then. They're already on the way. In the next room. Lily laughed softly in her sleep. Completely unaware. That everything was about to change. Again. The night felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Arthur knew that feeling. It wasn't peace. It was pressure. Right before everything explodes. He stood by the window. Watching. Counting seconds. Listening to silence. Then. Headlights. 3 vehicles. No hesitation. No attempt to hide. They weren't searching anymore. They had found them. Arthur turned instantly. Get up, he said sharply. Evelyn was already moving. What about Lily? I've got her. Arthur crossed the room in 2 steps. Scooped Lily into his arms. She stirred. Confused. Dad. No questions, he whispered. We're playing the quiet game, remember? Half asleep, she nodded. Wrapped her arms around his neck. Trusted him. Always. The first explosion shattered the front door. Wood splintered. Glass rained across the floor. Flash bang. White light. Deafening sound. Evelyn stumbled back. Disoriented. Arthur didn't. He moved through it. Through chaos. Through noise. Like he had done before. Too many times. Back exit, he ordered. Evelyn ran. Barefoot. Heart racing. Adrenaline burning through her veins. Behind them. Boots. Voices. Commands. Closing in. The bathroom window. Small. Tight. Not meant for escape. But Arthur didn't hesitate. He shoved it open. Cold air rushed in. Go, he said. Evelyn climbed out first. Hands shaking. Breathing uneven. She hit the ground hard. Pain shot through her leg. Ignored it. Arthur passed Lily through. Then followed. Landing silently. Already moving. They ran. Into darkness. Into trees. Into nothing. Branches tore at Evelyn's skin. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. But she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Because behind them. Lights. Voices. Gunshots. They were being hunted. Arthur grabbed her wrist. This way. How do you? Trust me. She did. Because she had no choice. And because somehow. He had never been wrong. They reached the car. Hidden. Prepared. Arthur opened the door. Shoved them inside. Engine roared to life. They sped into the night. Silence filled the car. Heavy. Broken only by Lily's soft voice. Are we going on an adventure? Arthur swallowed. Yes. Evelyn turned away. Because she couldn't hold it in anymore. Her hands shook violently. Her breath broke. Her voice cracked. They almost killed us. Arthur didn't respond. He just drove. Because he knew. This was only the beginning. Hours later. They stopped. Middle of nowhere. No lights. No noise. Just darkness. Arthur stepped out. Checked the surroundings. Clear. For now. Evelyn followed. Her legs weak. Her mind racing. I can't do this, she whispered. Arthur turned. You don't have a choice. Her eyes filled. I wasn't built for this. Arthur stepped closer. No, he said quietly. You were built for something harder. She shook her head. I built my life on control. On power. On knowing what comes next. Arthur's voice dropped. And how's that working now? Silence. Brutal. Honest. She looked at him. Really looked at him. You're not afraid, she said. Arthur paused. Then. I am. She blinked. You don't act like it. Arthur's jaw tightened. Because fear doesn't get to decide what I do. Back inside the car. Arthur plugged in the USB again. This time. They went deeper. Files hidden within files. Encrypted layers. Secrets buried under secrets. Evelyn leaned closer. Her breathing slowed. Focused. Sharp. Then. She saw it. Her entire body froze. No. Arthur looked at her. What? Her voice barely came out. That's my father's medical file. Arthur's expression hardened. Keep going. She opened it. Scrolled. Read. Stopped. Her hand trembled. They've been poisoning him. Arthur didn't react. How? Microdoses, heavy metals, it mimics dementia. Her voice broke. For 2 years. Silence filled the car. Thick. Unbearable. Arthur spoke carefully. Who has access to his treatment? Evelyn didn't hesitate. Damien. Evelyn leaned back. Her entire world collapsing. He killed my father without touching him. Arthur corrected her quietly. No. She looked at him. He's killing him. The difference hit harder. Because it meant there was still time. Maybe. But then another file opened. And this one was worse. Far worse. Evelyn stared at the screen. Her face drained of color. No. Arthur leaned closer. What is it? She didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was unbearable. That's my mother. Arthur froze. The report loaded. An accident. Car crash. Brake failure. Case closed. But underneath. Hidden data. Tampered evidence. Manipulated reports. A signature. Damien Cross. Evelyn's voice dropped to a whisper. He killed her. The world went silent again. But this time. It wasn't outside. It was inside her. Everything she believed. Everything she built. Everything she trusted. Gone. A lie. She stepped out of the car. Walked into the darkness. Arthur followed. Slowly. Carefully. She stopped. Turned. Her eyes were different now. Colder. Sharper. Dangerous. I'm going to kill him. Arthur didn't flinch. No. Her voice rose. He took everything from me. Arthur stepped closer. And if you kill him? She didn't answer. Does your mother come back? He asked. Silence. Does your father get better? Nothing. Or do you just become him? That hit hard. She turned away. Because she knew. He was right. Back in the car. Lily was awake. Watching them. Quietly. Are you okay? She asked Evelyn. Evelyn froze. No one had asked her that in years. Not like that. Not genuinely. She nodded slowly. I will be. Lily smiled. Then held out her drawing. I made this earlier. Evelyn took it. 3 figures. Holding hands. Again. But this time. Closer. Stronger. A family. Evelyn's eyes filled. Not with weakness. With something new. Something she had buried long ago. Hope. Arthur started the engine again. Where are we going? Evelyn asked. Arthur looked ahead. Far ahead. To a place they won't expect. Where? He paused. Then said. Somewhere off the map. Miles away. Damien stood in the shadows. Watching a screen. Tracking signals. Patterns. Movement. And then. He smiled. Cold. Certain. You can run, he whispered. But you can't disappear. He tapped the screen. Coordinates locked. Target confirmed. They're heading north. His voice dropped. Perfect. The road disappeared hours ago. No streetlights. No signals. No civilization. Just endless darkness. And falling snow. Arthur's hand stayed steady on the wheel. Even as visibility dropped. Even as the world narrowed to a tunnel of white. Evelyn stared out the window. Silent. Lost. Everything she once knew. Gone. Replaced by uncertainty. By fear. By truth. Lily sat in the back seat. Curled up. Half asleep. Still trusting. Still safe. Because he was there. Arthur finally spoke. "We're close." Evelyn glanced at him. Close to what? Arthur didn't look at her. "My past." The truck came to a stop. In front of something that barely looked like a home. A cabin. Old. Weathered. Isolated. Buried under snow. "This is it?" Evelyn asked. Arthur nodded. No cameras. No signals. No records. She stepped out. Cold hit her instantly. Sharp. Unforgiving. "This place isn't safe," she said. Arthur locked the truck. "It's the safest place we have." She looked around. Nothing but trees. Snow. Silence. And suddenly, she understood. Safety didn't mean comfort anymore. It meant survival. Inside. The cabin was worse. Cold. Dark. Bare. No electricity. No heat. No luxury. Evelyn stood still. Completely out of place. Arthur moved immediately. Lighting the stove. Checking supplies. Breaking wood. Efficient. Focused. Like he had done this 1,000 times. Lily looked around. Wide-eyed. "This is like camping." Arthur smiled faintly. "Something like that." Evelyn watched them. Confused. "How are you both so calm?" she asked. Arthur didn't look up. "Because panic doesn't help." She exhaled slowly. Trying to steady herself. Trying to adapt. Trying to survive. The storm hit fast. Violent. Unforgiving. Wind howled against the walls. Snow slammed against the windows. The cabin shook. Evelyn flinched. Every sound felt like danger. Every shadow felt alive. Arthur noticed. "Sit," he said gently. She hesitated. Then did. Lily curled up beside her. Holding a small stuffed rabbit Arthur had bought earlier. "Are you scared?" Lily asked. Evelyn paused. Then. "Yes." Lily nodded. "Me too." Evelyn blinked. "You are?" Lily smiled softly. "But Dad's here. So it's okay." Evelyn looked at Arthur. And for the first time, she believed that too. Later that night, the fire burned low. Soft. Warm. Arthur sat near it. Feeding wood carefully. Evelyn watched him. "You don't stop, do you?" she asked. Arthur shrugged. "Not when it matters." She studied him. "You've done this before. Not just survival, this life." Arthur stared into the fire. Long silence. Then. "I lost people," he said quietly. Evelyn didn't interrupt. "Good people. Because I hesitated. Because I trusted the wrong moment." His voice tightened. "I don't do that anymore." Evelyn leaned forward. "And now?" Arthur looked at her. "Now I don't lose anyone." The weight of that promise settled between them. The temperature dropped overnight. Brutally. The fire struggled. The walls held the cold. Lily shivered in her sleep. Arthur noticed immediately. He took off his jacket. Wrapped it around her. Evelyn watched. You'll freeze, she whispered. I'll manage. No, she said softly. She hesitated. Then opened her blanket. Come here. Arthur froze. Not from cold. From something else. Something unfamiliar. She met his eyes. Not as a CEO. Not as someone above him. As someone equal. As someone human. You said survival matters, she said. He hesitated. Then moved. Slowly. Carefully. He sat beside her. Shared warmth. Shared silence. Shared something deeper than either expected. Outside. The storm raged. Inside. Something changed. Morning came slowly. Soft light through frost-covered windows. The storm had settled. For now. Lily woke first. Sat up. Looked at them. Then smiled. You didn't freeze, she said. Arthur chuckled lightly. Not yet. Lily grabbed her notebook. Started drawing again. Evelyn stretched slightly. Her shoulder brushing Arthur's. Neither moved away. Neither said anything. Because some moments don't need words. Lily walked over. Held up her drawing proudly. 3 figures. Standing in snow. Holding hands. A small cabin behind them. That's us again, she said. Arthur opened his mouth. Then stopped. Evelyn looked at the drawing. Longer this time. More carefully. Why do you keep drawing us like this? She asked. Lily shrugged. Because it feels right. Evelyn swallowed. Even now? Lily nodded. Especially now. Silence. But not empty. Full. Heavy. Real. Later that day. Arthur stood outside. Scanning the horizon. Thinking. Calculating. Evelyn joined him. We can't stay here, she said. I know. They'll find us. Arthur nodded. They will. She crossed her arms. So what's the plan? Arthur looked at her. Not as a burden. Not as someone to protect. As a partner. We stop running. Her breath caught. That's insane. Arthur shook his head. No. It's inevitable. She stepped closer. They have resources. Power. People everywhere. Arthur's voice didn't change. So do we. She frowned. We're 3 people in the middle of nowhere. Arthur held up the USB. We have the truth. She stared at it. Then at him. And you think that's enough? Arthur's eyes hardened. It has to be. That night. Evelyn opened the files again. But this time. She dug deeper. Past the corruption. Past the money. Into something hidden. Something buried. A final layer. And when it opened. Her blood ran cold. Arthur saw her reaction instantly. What? She turned the screen toward him. Documents. Plans. Timelines. Names. This isn't just about your company, Arthur said slowly. No, Evelyn whispered. Her voice barely steady. It's bigger. Arthur read faster. Connecting dots. Understanding. This is a takeover, he said. Not just business, control. Evelyn nodded. Governments. Infrastructure. Financial systems. She looked at him. They're not just stealing power. Her voice dropped. They're replacing it. Arthur closed the laptop. Slowly. Carefully. No more running, he said. Evelyn didn't argue this time. Because now. She understood. If they didn't stop this, no one would. Lily walked over quietly. What are we doing now? She asked. Arthur knelt in front of her. We're going to fix something. She tilted her head. Like when something breaks? Arthur smiled faintly. Exactly like that. She nodded. Okay. No fear. No doubt. Just trust. And that was everything. Miles away, Damien Cross stared at a satellite feed. The storm had cleared. The signal was faint. But it was there. A pinpoint. A location. He smiled slowly. They stopped running. His voice turned cold. Good. He turned to his men. Prepare everything. A pause. Then. We end this. The drive back felt different. Not fear. Not panic. Purpose. Arthur drove. Eyes steady. Hands firm. Beside him, Evelyn sat in silence. But not the same silence as before. This one had weight. Clarity. Decision. In the back seat, Lily slept. Peaceful. Unaware that everything about her world was about to change forever. They stopped at an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Broken windows. Rusty steel. Forgotten by everyone. Except Arthur. You've been here before, Evelyn said. Arthur nodded. Prepared it, just in case. For what? Arthur looked around. For a day like this. Inside. Cameras. Hidden. Strategic. Every angle covered. Every movement recorded. Evelyn slowly realized. You're not just planning to survive. Arthur met her eyes. You're planning to expose everything. She exhaled. And for the first time, she didn't resist. Elias arrived just before dawn. FBI. Trusted. The only person Arthur believed wouldn't betray them. He stepped out of the car. Looked at Arthur. Then at Evelyn. Then at Lily. You really did it, Elias said quietly. Arthur didn't respond. He knelt in front of Lily. She blinked awake. Dad. He smiled softly. I need you to go with Uncle Elias for a little while. Her face fell. But. Hey, he said gently. What's the rule? She sniffled. The quiet game. Arthur nodded. Exactly. She hugged him tightly. I'll come back, right? Arthur closed his eyes for a second. Then. Yes. Because he had to believe that. She turned to Evelyn. Hugged her too. You're part of the team, she whispered. Evelyn's breath caught. I know, she said softly. And just like that. Lily was gone. Safe. But leaving behind everything that mattered. Inside the warehouse. Arthur checked every angle. Every camera. Every blind spot. Evelyn loaded a weapon. Hands steady now. No hesitation. You've changed, Arthur said. She glanced at him. So have you. He smirked faintly. I always had this in me. She shook her head. No, this isn't just survival anymore. A pause. This is belief. Arthur didn't answer. But she was right. The sound came first. Engines. Multiple. Approaching fast. Arthur checked the monitor. They're here. Evelyn stepped beside him. How many? Arthur zoomed in. Enough. Black vehicles surrounded the building. Doors opened. Men stepped out. Armed. Trained. Precise. And then. One more car. Different. Sleek. Controlled. Damien Cross stepped out. Perfect suit. Perfect posture. Perfect monster. He walked inside like he owned the place. Because for years, he had owned everything. Arthur Miller, Damien said calmly. Impressive. Arthur stepped into view. No fear. No hesitation. Damien Cross. Evelyn stepped beside him. Damien smiled faintly. Evelyn, you look different. She didn't respond. You should have stayed quiet, Damien continued. This didn't have to happen. Arthur tilted his head. Funny. I was about to say the same thing. Arthur held up his phone. Screen glowing. Say that again, he said. Damien frowned. What? Arthur smiled slightly. For the audience. Damien's expression shifted. What are you talking about? Evelyn stepped forward. Every word you say, every move you make. She pointed upward. Is being recorded. Arthur added. And streamed. Damien looked around. For the first time. Uncertainty. How many? He asked. Arthur checked the screen. 30,000. A beat. And climbing. Damien laughed. Cold. Sharp. You think this matters? He stepped closer. I own media. I own courts. I own the truth. Arthur didn't move. Not anymore. Evelyn's voice cut through. You killed my mother. Silence. Heavy. Damien didn't deny it. Didn't hesitate. Instead. He smiled. You needed motivation. Evelyn's hand tightened around her weapon. Arthur stepped slightly in front. Blocking her. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was about justice. Damien raised his hand. Everything exploded. Gunfire. Shouts. Glass shattering. Arthur moved instantly. Pulling Evelyn down. Returning fire. Precise. Controlled. Deadly. They moved together. Without words. Instinct. Trust. Survival. Evelyn fired. Missed. Adjusted. Hit. Her breathing steady. Her fear gone. Replaced by something stronger. Purpose. They stood back to back. Surrounded. Outnumbered. Outgunned. But not broken. Arthur called positions. Left, 2. Evelyn turned. Fired. Hit. Behind. Arthur moved. Took them down. Their movements synced. Perfect. Because in chaos, trust becomes everything. Damien stepped forward. Gun raised. Aimed directly at Evelyn. This ends now. Arthur saw it. Too far. Too late. He moved anyway. But before he could reach, a shot rang out. Damien froze. Then collapsed. Gun slipping from his hand. Behind him, Elias stood. Weapon steady. FBI, he shouted. Agents flooded in. Weapons drawn. Chaos stopped. Just like that. Damien was dragged to his knees. Still breathing. Still conscious. Still angry. You think this changes anything? He spat. Arthur stepped closer. No, he said quietly. It just ends it. Damien looked at Evelyn. You lost everything. Evelyn stepped forward. No, she said. For the first time. I found something real. News spread instantly. The live stream went viral. Millions watched. Shared. Reacted. The truth. Unfiltered. Unstoppable. Damien Cross. Arrested. Exposed. Destroyed. The empire. Collapsed. Piece by piece. Evelyn stood outside Sterling Tower. No security. No power. No name on the building. Just a suitcase. And silence. Arthur walked up beside her. You okay? She laughed softly. I have nothing. Arthur shook his head. No, you have everything that matters. She looked at him. Really looked. And this time. She saw it. 6 months later. Spring. Warm. Alive. Lily ran across a field. Laughing. Free. Arthur stood nearby. Watching. Peaceful. Evelyn walked toward them. Different now. Simpler. Real. Lily saw her first. You came back. She ran straight into her arms. Evelyn held her tightly. I told you I would. Arthur watched. Silent. Grateful. They sat together in the park. A kite soared into the sky. Bright. Free. Unstoppable. Lily laughed. Evelyn smiled. Arthur finally relaxed. Because for the first time, there was no danger. No running. No fear. Just life. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stay silent. Because silence can save lives. But truth? Truth changes everything. If this story stayed with you, if it made you feel something real, like, share, and subscribe. Because stories like this deserve to be heard, even when they begin with silence.